How many times has it happened to you that you're playing a calm position with no apparent errors, but suddenly everything starts to go wrong? Well, this is more common than you think, and it happens to most of us chess players. But there is a solution. Today, through a master game, we're going to learn exactly how to punish these types of errors, to think much better during your own games, and to make our opponents the ones who find themselves in that difficult situation. In this classic game played by Blackburn with the black pieces in the year 1892, this is demonstrated to absolute perfection. The double king pawn was played, e4 and e5, the most popular moves in chess, and here, right on move number 2, the white pieces already surprised with the move d4. Really? What is the most common? Well, maybe playing knight f3 would be the most common of all, right? Attacking this pawn on e5. Also, the bishop opening, even with bishop c4, but the move d4 is already a slightly strange move. Although all moves, if we study them well, can be beneficial for us. In these types of situations, when we no longer know what our opponents are doing to us, we must think clearly. If now, if we defend this pawn that they're attacking, for example, with d6, we would reach a very bad position because after the pawn exchange, they would also exchange queens, right? And now we would have a fairly equal position, yes, but we wouldn't be able to castle. They're doing construction here. I hope it's not heard too much. The idea is that now they could continue with the initiative while developing a piece and attacking one of our pawns. This is called having the initiative. And keep this phrase in your mind for when you play your games. If you can develop a piece while attacking something of your opponent's, it's usually an excellent idea. Come on, let's go back to understand exactly what is happening here. After the move d4, then we're seeing that it's not usually a good idea to defend this pawn on e5. It seems much better, without a doubt, to capture this pawn on d4. For two reasons. They're no longer attacking us, and also we're attracting the queen toward the center of the board. When a major piece is placed in the center of the board, it can be attacked with ease. Do you remember what I just told you? If you apply this, you'll be able to win many more games. Develop a piece and attack the opponent. How could we do it? With knight c6, we develop this knight and attack the opponent's queen, which will have to retreat. Once retreated, we'll move again, and this is called playing with initiative. What do you think of the combination of pieces and board, by the way, that I've come up with today? This is a combination I came up with, right? I chose this board with white finishes. It's new for me. As you know, I love this special edition, and I've also put these pieces on it. Well, for anyone who wants to make their own combinations, I'll leave it down in the description. I'm gonna leave it. Also, how I made the combination, this board and these pieces. You know that right now we have a 15% discount code for any type of board and piece combination in the store where I get them, all right? Very well. What's the idea here for white? Well, pay attention because it's very interesting. They want to place the queen on e3 with the idea of making this development. Knight c3, bishop d2, long castle, and then launch these pawns to attack us, probably when we castle. All this is very nice, and the plan is very interesting. However, you mustn't forget that in chess, we're not the only ones playing, but we play and our opponent plays too, and they're never going to make things easy for us. I wish they would, but it's not usually like that. Very well. Here, it's true that black doesn't play the theoretical move. We're talking about the year 1892. And here they were actually much more creative, which I really like. Nowadays, current games are played at the level of engines, practically in the world elite. That's why analyzing those types of games is practically not beneficial for us. On the other hand, here we perfectly understand the plans they wanted to carry out. Probably the most common move would be knight f6, but Blackburn, also known as the Black Death, played g6. The idea is obvious. Develop the bishop through g7, develop this knight, and castle short. An extremely interesting position. White continues with their plan, bishop d2. maybe also threatening with this bishop c3 on some occasions. But we see that after the move bishop g7, knight c3 is quickly played. It wouldn't be interesting to play bishop c3 now because knight f6 would simply be played and this knight would have no way out. That's why knight c3 is simply played here. Now it's our turn to develop this knight. Both through f6 and e7 would be good responses. They'd be interesting responses. But maybe it's a bit more interesting through e7 because that way we leave the bishop's diagonal completely free. Although in the future, this knight could move aside so the bishop attacks. Hey, with the knight on e7, it attacks immediately, so it must be a move to keep in mind for sure. The game continues with long castling by the white pieces and short castling by the black pieces. And here, the first mistake by white begins. Do you know which one it is? Fa4. Let's see. Apparently, it seems like a very quiet move, and surely here the white pieces are finding themselves in the position I was talking about in the introduction of this video. They've played a quiet game with no apparent errors, but suddenly you'll see that their opponent, in this case Blackburn with the black pieces, is suddenly going to have it all super easy to attack and win the game. Here, bishop to c4 had to be played. And now you'll see why. The idea is to control the center. Against this f4, that is, against this flank attack, we're going to apply the pattern that says lateral counterattack. We react with a central attack. And this is always possible. Why? Because the center is always more important than a side. Whoever doesn't dominate the center won't dominate the game at all. In this case, this advance is being threatened, winning a piece. A fearsome fork, right? Or fork, call it what you want. I don't care. I completely don't care what you call it. The idea is that this pawn must be captured no matter what, right? Why? Because if not, it's going to advance. Therefore, after this capture, black has managed to free themselves a lot. It's true they could already recapture with this knight and continue their initiative. However, here Blackburn uses a very interesting move, which is the following. Instead of capturing this pawn immediately, he played knight to b4 with the idea that if things get complicated, he'll surely take the pawn because three pieces attack it and only one defends it. So it's impossible for white to play two pieces at once to defend it, meaning if things get complicated, hey, capture this pawn with either of the two knights and it's over. But if not, they always have options to keep attacking. The game continues. With this bishop to c4, the correct move, but one that should have been played earlier to avoid the central expansion on black's part. The idea is that here we're going to think about what I just told you. What are we going to do? Try to develop pieces while we attack. I'm sure many of you already understand what move we're going to make here. Would it be possible to capture this pawn? Yes. But better to develop the last minor piece we have left and place it. On f5, where it coordinates very well with its knight on b4, and they both attack this weak point, of c2 is weak because it's simply defended by the white monarch. So here, white is already forced to defend this point, and they don't have many moves. They can simply come with the bishop to attack it. Look at what they've done. While we develop and attack, they develop and have to move the same piece again to defend. There's a significant difference here, and if we take a close look, white still needs to develop their knight. And mind you, white starts playing with a one-turn advantage. That means we're handling the situation extremely well. So what do we do here? It seems like we have everything defended. Well, now we're going to recapture this pawn that we're apparently down, and here a question arises. Why should we recapture the pawn? That's obvious, because if not, for example, they'll move the bishop, defend it with three pieces, and this pawn won't be so easy to get back. So before it's too late, let's get it back. But with which knight? With the one on e7 or the one on b4? Well, both knights would be correct to capture the pawn, but one is much better. And we're going to follow the principles. This knight is attacking, and this knight isn't doing anything. Therefore, we're going to bring the knight that's doing nothing to place it in the center of the board. Many of you are probably afraid this knight will be kicked out, that you'll have to retreat, then they'll capture this one, and the position falls apart. Well, then, this wouldn't be possible because after the knight capture, we're threatening something stronger. We're threatening the queen. Therefore, either the queen moves or this knight right here is captured. In the game, knight takes knight was played, followed by knight takes knight. Now, it wouldn't be a good idea to play bishop takes d5 because they'd be giving us the bishop pair. And look at this wonderful position we'd have. Both bishops attacking, the king side, the queen too, and no piece defending it. So this would be a wonderful position for us. It is anyway, right? We have a knight here attacking the queen, which has to move. We keep the initiative, and let's see how we could continue attacking. I want you to take a moment and think back to the phrase I explained earlier, develop while attacking. If you truly apply this principle, my friends, I can personally guarantee you that your games will be significantly more comfortable and smooth, and you will inevitably start to win much more often. You can watch this game and this video as many times as you need. In fact, I recommend that if you have the time and the desire, you watch it again whenever you see fit. The correct move here is Queen f6. The queen is developed while making the most lethal attack in chess. Checkmate in one move. If white gets distracted here and develops their knight instead, simply playing queen takes b2 would immediately end the game. That is exactly why they must try to defend against this mate threat, and there really aren't many ways to do it. For instance, bishop c3 wouldn't be possible because they would just lose a pawn after knight takes c3 occurs. So there's no choice but to play c3, the pawn to c3. This is a sad necessity because, as you can see, every pawn move creates weaknesses. We've talked about it many times on this channel, especially if a pawn that should defend the king is moving. Look, now, for example, at this bishop that has a clear path and is completely immobilizing the white king, which can't go to b1 or c2. See? White's pieces are playing so well, but okay, how do we continue now? It would be interesting to bring the rooks to the center, as Capablanca would tell us, for example. But here, there are much more interesting moves. And the thing is, when you have so many attacking pieces, there are always attacking moves that can work out well for us. And in this case, Blackburn makes a wonderful move. Pay attention, knight to b4. At first glance, it might look like he's given away the knight, but no, watch. They had placed this pawn on c3 to prevent checkmate. If he takes the knight, simply queen takes b2 would be checkmate again. Therefore, we take advantage of the fact that this knight here can't be taken. But let's see. Placing a knight just to see if they take it is useless. Correct. The threat is massive. Do you know what the threat is? Imagine that white just ignores everything here. Well, the game is simply won with knight to d3 check. The king has to move onto the bishop's diagonal, either to c2 or b1, and a move like knight to e1 check or knight to e5 check, a discover check with the bishop, would end up winning the queen. That's why. The real threat here now is knight to d3 check, and then a discovered attack to win the queen or any other piece. So what should the white pieces do here? Well, try to cover the d3 square. For example, it wouldn't be possible to play bishop to e3, opening it up for the rook, because then we would simply jump in anyway and they'd have to give up the rook, right? White finds a very logical solution, which is bishop to c4. They continue to defend this at 2 point. They continue to defend this d3 point, which was the truly critical one, and so now we must increase the pressure. Probably the more experienced ones here are thinking, well, this is simple. I'm going to place one of the two rooks on the d file and renew the threat again. Correct, that would be a good idea, but there's an even stronger move. Pay attention to this spectacular move by Blackburn, which is the move that made this game famous. If you know the game, this move will obviously sound familiar to you, and if not, enjoy it because it's wonderful. Watch closely. Queen to a6. A knight sacrifice and a queen sacrifice at the same time. Why is this queen being sacrificed? Well, let's take it step by step. The queen can't be captured because the bishop is responsible for defending this at 2 point. And if bishop takes a6, a serious mistake, knight takes a2 would be checkmate. Look at how well placed our pieces are. The knight gives check, and the bishop prevents the king from escaping. So this queen cannot be captured. And can the knight be captured? No. Obviously, the knight can't be captured either, because then it would follow with queen takes c4, winning the bishop. This would be check. It also enters through a 2. It will enter later through d1, giving mate, and these will be completely disastrous consequences for the white player. So if the knight can't be captured and the queen can't either, let's think like white, right? What should I do? Well, careful now, because they're threatening several things. They're threatening the bishop, they're threatening to enter through a2, so what do I do? Well, white realizes that the real problem here is this bishop. If this bishop weren't there, no threat would be possible, and that's why they play g4. Very interesting. If we now move the bishop back, well, white will simply be better off because they'd capture our queen and nothing would have happened here. But look at this wonderful move that Blackburn finds here. Queen takes a 2, he sacrifices the queen again. Logically, it's not possible to capture because knight takes a2, checkmate would follow. Once again, huh? Impressive, right? Can the knight be captured? No, because then queen b1, checkmate, would follow. So neither the queen nor the knight can be captured. Can the bishop be captured then? Well, if the bishop is captured, this would have a very simple solution. Queen a1 mate because the knight, it would be like this. If pawn takes bishop, queen a1 mate because the knight covers the exit through c2. Look at how many combinations exist in a game when we place the pieces correctly. So here, white decides to make the following desperate move. Bishop e3. Imagine you're in a fire. You quickly go look for a door to escape the flames. Well, this is what the white player is doing. He tried to open the door so that if the fire comes in, he can escape, and it's not checkmate. How do we close this door? We want to close the door so they stay inside and we can deliver, mate. Correct. It would be possible to close it with the rook, but there's a much more powerful move here, and it's this one. Bishop takes c3, a completely lethal move. The queen can't be taken. Watch out. The queen can't be taken because then knight takes a2, mate would simply follow. Impressive, huh? What else? Well, the bishop can't really be taken because then queen c2, mate would follow. And now then, what do the black pieces do? Because the threat is queen takes b2, checkmate. Well, there's really no way to stop this checkmate. At most, it could be stopped by giving up the rook, but then the mate on a1 would come, and since two mates are threatened at once, both can't be stopped. Look at what a masterful game. Truly a game we can really learn from, not these modern ones where it's hard to understand what's happening. A great game to try and apply in your own matches. If you really liked this type of video, please leave me a like. If you want to study with the exact same app that I use, I will leave a link for you right now down here in the description. It's an app that's used for studying openings and for studying strategy. You'll see it has various paid subscription plans, but you can use it entirely free of charge with a wide range of useful features, which is exactly what I recommend at first. See if you like it, okay? It's the one I use. The app isn't mine, so I'm not going to insist at all on you paying, okay? If you want to try it, I'll leave it down here in the description. This is also true for the various chess sets. It's the store I recommend because it's where I buy my chess sets. And they've always treated me absolutely wonderfully. That's why I highly recommend it to everyone. And luckily, they are providing us with a 15% chess teacher discount code. So if you want to give the app a try for yourself, you have it located right down here in the description. If you want to buy a professional chess set at a very special and exclusive price just for us, the channel's followers, you can also find the link to do that in the description. You can choose your pieces, your board, whatever you like best, and enter the chess teacher discount code and get it with the discount. I really hope you loved this video and we'll see each other tomorrow. As always, in the very next one, my friends. Bye for now.